disease. It's illegal discrimination against the addicted. There's illegal discrimination against those who suffer from mental health. Our son, years before he became addicted, he suffered from bipolar depression. He was hospitalized with suicidal depression 6 times in his last 6 years. That was his struggle. That was his real struggle. And the services are not plentiful enough in Delaware County. We don't do a good job in this country, let alone this county, treating the mentally ill. And that has to change. There's a federal law, the Parity Act, signed in 2008 by George Bush, bipartisan bills written by Patrick Kennedy, signed by George Bush, that says that everybody is entitled to best practices mental care, whether you get a hip replacement like I got 5 years ago, whether you got a heart bypass like Heather's dad did, or whether you're suffering from mental illness, or whether you're suffering from depression, or you're suffering from addiction. You have to get parity in best practices treatment, and that's not happening here in Delaware County. It's not happening in this country. I won't rest until it's happening. So why else would a union president like Dave Deloso from Wrigley support me, someone from Hereford on the western side of the county? Why would he support me for county council? Well, David cares about the opioid crisis. He's the president of the local Teamsters Union. He has seen members die. He's been to their funerals. He has seen members of their family die. He's been to their funerals. He has seen all the productivity lost by people who have to take off work to get treatment. He has seen people who have to take off work to go and make sure that their loved one is getting the care that they deserve and they need. So he's seen the lost productivity and the loss of life from this scourge on our society, and we have to do something about this opioid crisis. So Heather and I are in mourning, of course, in the loss of our 23-year-old son, a great guy who we miss very much, but we're mourning with a mission. And our mission is provide best practices to everyone who needs them in Delaware County. That has not happened, and it has to happen.
I feel your heart. I listen to your 22-year-old nephew. What are we going to do? I mean, you know, what's the answer?
All right, there's a lot of answers. All right, so I could talk all day about it.
I feel you, man.
This is if you're looking for an answer on county council, there's your guy.
Right.
Send them to the council.
There's prevention. There's a lot of things we can do about prevention. There's a lot. What Heather and I have focused on is treatment. What we focused on in our foundation, the Opioid Crisis Action Network. You go to opioidcrisisactionnetwork.com. You can see our platform. 102 candidates signed on to the platform. Dave Deloso was one of them. So I'm so happy that he is in the State House in Harrisburg, because I know I have someone I could go to and work together with to make sure that people will get treatment, that it will be funded, that it will be covered, and that we have prevention programs and treatment programs. It can't be just a justice issue. It can't be just a criminal justice issue. The answer isn't putting people in jail. That is not the answer. And this county treats most of people with issues, and they funnel them into the criminal justice system. That is not the ansser.
I'm really good friends with Jack Whalen. You know, Republican, unfortunately. But he did that Narcan thing, which was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a start there.
That's absolutely a start. That saves lives, but that's not a solution. That will save lives. That's not going to solve the opioid crisis.
Right. So, I mean, Jack's not in it right now. I was very interested since I lost my nephew. That's why I'm interested in talking to you right now.
Yeah.
But, I mean, worst thing in the world is your kid.
Absolutely.
You know, like that. I mean, God bless you guys. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Yeah.
So why else would Dave support me besides the opioid crisis? 16 years ago, after a successful career in software sales for 20 years, I took a $100,000 pay cut to become a teacher and a coach in the city of Philadelphia. I've worked in some of the toughest neighborhoods in Philadelphia. I've worked in Kensington High School. I've worked K through 8, worst year of my life, in West Philadelphia, James Rhodes Elementary School. I've worked at Alney High School, and I currently work at George Washington High School, and I love my job. I love my job. I get to do what my teachers and coaches did for me. I got arrested when I was in 8th grade. And I got arrested again when I was in 9th grade. Stupid stuff, drinking, then getting in fights, all right, dumb stuff. Teachers and coaches reached out to me and put me in the right direction. And I wanted to be like my heroes who put me in the right direction. And today, I do for my students and my athletes what those teachers and those coaches did for me all those years ago. And I couldn't be happier about the direction I took in my life. I am wealthy, not because of my paycheck right now, which isn't very big at all, but I'm wealthy because of what I get to do for the kids of Philadelphia. And I feel really good about it. All right, so When I was at Alny, they flipped the school to a charter school. So they went from a union shop to a non-union shop. The charter school movement, a lot of it is just union busting. That's what it is. It's just decreasing union membership and decreasing union power in the state of Pennsylvania and nationally. That's a lot of what it is. So I took it upon myself to work with colleagues, and I'm so proud of my colleagues that they turned Alny Charter into a union shop. One of the only 4 charter schools in Philadelphia that are a union shop right now. I was part of that for the first year. That takes guts, because that charter organization went after us. They tried to get us out. They put pressure on us. They spent a lot of money that should have been spent on the kids' education on a public relations campaign that was totally anti-union, totally intimidation. It's illegal, but they did it. And a lot of people left, and a lot of people chickened out. I stood there. I got an extremely outstanding, the most outstanding review for my teaching. I'm a darn good teacher. I'm a good coach. And they gave me a memo in April saying my contract would be renewed. On June 28th, I received a 1-sentence email saying my contract would not be renewed. And that was the first year of that union campaign. So I don't just say I'm pro-union like most politicians. I've lived a union campaign. I know what it is to unionize a shop that's not union. I believe in the union movement, and I put my life out there and my job out there for that. I will continue to do that. I believe in the union organization and the union movement in this country. All right, so I believe that in Delaware County, they ought to pay county workers a living wage. All right, we have so many county workers that don't earn a living wage. How would you like to go to college, incur that debt like our daughter, and we've incurred debt for our daughter, sending her to a private school, private college, and then you have all that debt, so you get a degree and you become a social worker, or you become a probation officer, or you become a prison guard, or you become a parks officer, and you're making just barely over minimum wage to start. And eventually the high end might be $40,000 of those jobs if you're a social worker, a probation officer, an officer in the prison. And that is not a living wage. It is not fair that GOP appointees make close to 6 figures or more than 6 figures, and the workers who make a difference in this county barely make a living wage if they do so at all. That has to change, and I'm going to help change it. All right? Not only that, we have to make sure that our contractors that we're giving multi-million-dollar contracts to, that they pay their workers a minimum wage, a living wage. All right, not just a minimum wage, but a living wage. And then we start to do and make a difference for the working families of this county in this area when we do that. And I'm going to be part of that as well. We also need to take a look at economic development in this area. We have a port. The city of Chester was one of the most thriving ports in the history of Chester in America, and we have to revitalize the port of Chester. And that was part of Dave's campaign, and he knows I agree with his platform to revitalize the port of Chester, to bring every dollar to reinvest in the infrastructure, the transportation infrastructure in this county, and make sure that this county gets its share of transportation infrastructure money, whether it's for highways, whether it's for bridges, whether it's for the airport, or whether it's for the port or for rail. Those are real good paying jobs that we need to get in this county, and David and I will work together to fight to make sure that all those jobs that deserve to be here and all that investment that deserves to come here comes here, and people get jobs and working living wage jobs here in Delaware County. So I think those are some of the reasons that Dave and I are like kindred spirits. I tell people that who know Dave, and they think for a second, they say, well, that might not be totally a good thing, but I think it's a good thing.
You can tell I went to Mansfield for about 2 weeks, and he went to Princeton. It's kind of
well, we are spiritual brothers, and I'm proud to look forward to work with Dave to make sure that these things happen for Delaware County: economic development, living wage jobs, prison reform, and doing something concrete about the opioid crisis in this county. So I really appreciate you listening to us, and I look forward to working with you, Dave.